And so this month, the moratorium on evictions of renters and homeowners, people who didn't make payments, was supposed to be lifted. But an extension was given for another 3 months, so until September 30th. Renters can't be kicked out and homeowners can't be kicked out for the inability to make payments, whether it's rent payment or mortgage payment. Now I'm going to share some hardcore facts with you and then elaborate on those. I have it up on my screen right here. So the pandemic and unemployment assistance and the stimulus checks and the federal assistance, they're all slowly running out. You can't expect to obtain coronavirus or pandemic and unemployment assistance for the remainder of this year or the next year. No. It's for a pandemic and it's for a limited amount of time. States and the government doesn't have unlimited money. 110 million Americans are living in rental households, and 20% of those will be evicted by September 30th. Thanks to coronavirus. Now why? Why is that happening? People don't have money. Now, with all due respect to my fellow Americans, all due respect, most of the Americans are broke. What do I mean by that? You want a latest MacBook, but you don't have the money for it? Don't worry about it. You can get it on payments. You want a 75-inch ultra high definition TV? You don't have the money for it? Don't worry about it. We'll give it to you on payments. You want the latest iPhone 11 Pro Max with 3 cameras and big screen? You don't have the money for it. Don't worry. We'll give it to you on payments. You don't have the money for it, but you still want to show off by driving around in a German car. You want the panoramic sunroof, you want the leather seats, you want the ventilated and heated seats. You don't have the money for it. Don't worry about it. We'll make up some payments that you can afford. The reality of all these things is, that Americans have so much products in their homes they cannot afford. They're on credit. How do you expect them to make a balloon payment at the end of the moratorium? Now, for those of you who don't know what a balloon payment is, if I didn't pay rent in March, if I didn't pay rent in April, May, June, July, August, September, October, let's stay until September. How many months is that? March, April, May, June, July, August, September, 7 months. Now I have to pay at the end of September. I have to make payments for those previous 7 months and then October. $8,000 if your rent or mortgage payment is $1,000 a month, you have to come up with $8,000 on October 1st. Otherwise, the bank is going to kick the homeowner out and the landlord's going to kick the renter out. This is the beauty of capitalism. This is how America is the biggest economy in the world, because everything is within reach of everybody. Doesn't matter if you're a blue-collar laborer who makes minimum wage, or if you're the CEO of Chase, the largest bank in America by assets. Both of you can afford almost pretty much the same amount of things. Now granted, the CEO of Chase will buy a mansion, but the blue-collar laborer will buy a home. The CEO of Chase will purchase a fully loaded Rolls Royce. I'm giving you an example, but the blue-collar laborer will purchase a fully loaded C-Class. But then there are things that both of them will be equal in. The TV, the cell phone, the cable package. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I don't understand why so many Americans have ultra high definition cable packages with all the sports channels, with all the comedy channels, with all the news channels. I know so many people who pay $300 a month for that crap. I apologize for my language throughout this video, but it just pisses me off. As a real estate professional, when I work with people, when I look at people, oh my God, you don't even have the income. Why are you driving this car? Every other day, I kid you not, when I'm prospecting and I'm talking prospective buyers, that's what they're telling me. Man, if I can afford this car, why can't I afford this home? They're two different things. They're very different things. Oh well, moving on. So there's an example of a judge from Texas. Now let me be very clear with you. All these news articles, they bring in one thing, to rile you up, to get you excited, race. All they talk about is race. Let's put race to the side. So a judge by the name of Yvonne Williams. It's a female. So before you go and start blabbing about a white male being racist and being tough with Latinos, she's a female, and we don't know if she's white. She mentions that she heard 60 cases in the last week, and all those 60 cases are about renters unable to pay their rent, the lump sum rent of the past few months. So in the example here, she is listening or hearing a case of a Latina with 2 kids online over the computer, where the Latina female is trying to explain that she is trying her best to come up with the $4,000 to pay for the back rent and the penalties because she was furloughed. Here's the thing. Courts are still limiting the number of cases that physically enter the premises of the court. Most of the cases are being heard online. Now, I do not care what you tell me how good technology is. Face-to-face and virtual conversations are 2 different things. The impact you can have on a person by meeting them face-to-face rather than being virtual is very different. So this also goes against a lot of poor renters and homeowners who will be evicted and kicked out once the moratorium is lifted. Only 15 states require landlords to verify that their buildings aren't covered by the federal moratorium. Yes, here's another thing. So I'm sure a lot of people don't know about this, but the landlords who take the federal subsidy, which is that the federal government will take care, will provide them with money so that the landlords can make payment to their banks. Of course, if somebody owns a $100 million apartment building, these people don't just shell out their own money. They put the bare minimum down and they go to the bank for the loan. So they have to owe money to the bank too. The federal government will give them money so they can make their payments to the banks, but in return, they have to give a benefit to the renters, that they will not kick the renters out. The renters will not be penalized, and the renters will be dealt fairly. But only 15 states require landlords to verify that their buildings aren't covered by the federal moratorium. You see a black hole here? Then there are a lot of Americans who unfortunately didn't receive their stimulus check. Now, granted, $1,200 is only going to go so far. If you have 2 or 3 kids, yeah, you can make it a couple of grand, $3,000, $4,000, but how far is that going to go? At the end of the day, there's still a dark cloud. Long story short, I'm not going to go through all that data in there. It's just too much. But here's the thing. Even if the states have laws that protect homeowners from being kicked out or renters being kicked out, even if the federal government has provisions to protect these people, a lot of people will be kicked out. Because a lot of these people don't have the means to go to the court and fight it out. Are they going to go to the court and fight it out and pay attorney fees, or are they going to spend that time making that money so they can pay their bills? Do you really think these people have so much money that they're going to go to the court? If they had that much money, they wouldn't be behind on their payments. And class actions can only go so far. Remember, this pandemic has affected and impacted everybody. Yes, of course, middle class and rich and poor class more than the rich class, but at the end of the day, the rich class have their big debts as well. If a CEO was making $5 million a year, do you really think he's going to be living in a $400,000 home? Do you really think he's going to be driving around in a $50,000 car? I highly doubt that. Yeah, he might have a $50,000 car, but he might have 4 of those. Yeah, his home might not be $20 million in Beverly Hills, but it's definitely not $400,000 either. So everybody has a problem according to their position in the society, and courts cannot protect everybody. The legal system, people, let me rephrase that, people with money will be the ones who will be able to make use of the legal system. Poor people, people in the middle class, people who cannot afford such luxuries of life, they will always be grinded on. Let me rephrase that. They will always be crushed. I was thinking about ground coffee for some reason. We're done.